Hello, Ev. What characteristics should a producer look for when choosing a corn silage variety?
Well, there are not a lot of differences between most hybrids on the digestibility of the stalk. And so the farmer really needs to look for a plant that has both high yield and also a very good ear. Because with corn silage, it really all starts with the ear. And so it has to have high grain content and good yield. There's not a lot of genetic differences in terms of the stalk quality. In other words, they're very closely related genetically. So he really has to focus on yield because there's big differences in yield and also in the amount of grain on the plant.
Ev, in your opinion, is it riskier to put up corn silage too wet or too dry?
In most cases, the risk is very much on the too wet side. And that's because corn from the time it is perfect until a week too early, there is a tremendous difference both in yield and in quality. I mean, you could say that the most important week in that corn plant's life from the farmer's perspective is the week from the time it's a little bit too immature until the time it's perfect, which I would consider to be 33 or 34% dry matter. We actually have a lot of flexibility after that, because it'll continue to dry down, but I'm not concerned at all about corn which is 4 or 5 days, harvested too late, because it will continue to gain some dry matter and continue to gain grain during that time. And corn in this area of Mexico, in a lot of cases, will dry down by about 1 percentage point per day. And so you'll find that going from really immature to perfect may be only the matter of a week or so. And so that's the real key, is getting it to at least 32% dry matter.
What are the ideal physical characteristics that corn silage should have?
Well, we certainly should have a crop which is well matured enough that the kernels are fully formed, and I would say that the starch formation in them is probably maybe 1/4 or 1/3 complete. The other characteristic we look for is a plant which obviously has high yield and one which will stand well so it will not lodge for farmers. Plant breeders have done an excellent job of improving the standability of corn hybrids, so this is much less of a problem than it was a generation ago. And so I think the real keys are something that will put on a reliably good ear and something that will yield well at the high populations that Mexican farmers plant.
How about chop length and kernel processing?
Well, chop length depends on whether you're processing or not. Most big farmers in Mexico are processing, and so the chop length should be somewhere around 2 centimeters, and I would say very close to that without a lot of variation. And then in terms of cutting height, a lot of farmers are cutting at about 15 centimeters in height, but in many cases, we can go up to 30 centimeters in height, lose a little bit of yield, and gain a little bit in quality. So there's a little bit of variation in there. But certainly chop length is somewhere around 2 centimeters, and I really like the idea of processing. Processing corn will reliably give you perhaps half a liter to a liter more milk per cow.